Getting ready.
I'm sorry, I don't understand what you're saying.
You're cutting your face off.
I see my face, it looks fine.
Hi, Laura.
Oh, face. Hey, Laura. I saw Laura, but now she can't hear.
Gone.
I saw her.
It's Laura.
I see her name, but she was on a minute ago.
Yeah, Laura's there, she's in a
I'm
red
sorry it
chair.
doesn't put your name up there.
That's
okay.
See her in two places.
Oh, there's
It's a
Leslie.
canter.
Hi, Leslie. I gotta find you in all the boxes.
Hi, Rona.
Hi.
Hey.
Hey, Renee, Jackie. Hey, Gail.
Hi, Rhoda. Hi, Ann.
Ladies,
Hello,
ladies,
Renee.
please help me out if you have a speaking part especially. Make sure that your name is correct in your box so I can find you all and unmute you at the proper time.
Mary Ellen, Vicky Wolfson is here with me, and so we're both on my box, my little
Okay.
box.
No, I can't get back to it now.
And Mary Ellen, that's my daughter Pearl that just came on, whose name is Day.
They all sound like they're old ladies. So
Hi, Felice.
now I can't get out of it.
Hey.
I don't know.
Hi, Pearl.
So you can change her name if
Jackie.
you
I can't get out of it, Arthur. I don't know how to close it.
Hey, Marcia. Hey.
Kelly, that's beautiful. You got your trip already.
Marcia made by the hair of my chinny chin chin.
And who's BM Cohen 36? Can we put your name up?
It's Joshi. My daughter-in-law.
Joshi.
I just changed to the computer from the iPhone.
Oh,
Hi,
okay.
Pearl.
Hello, Rose. Glad to see you.
Hi, Ann.
Hi there.
Okay, I'm going to mute everybody and turn this over to
I don't know how to
Canterbury
get back
to begin. And Cantor, if you would unmute yourself before you begin speaking.
Hello, everybody. Oh, I'm already hearing voices. Someone's unmuted. Okay. Hello, hello, hello. We're going to start off. Oh, sorry, a little too close for the guitar. We're going to start off with just a little Hine Matov this evening so that we can remember how good it is, how lovely it is that we can be here together for our Seder this evening. Hine Matov Manayim שבת אחים גם יחד, הנה מה טוב ומנעים, שבת אחים גם יחד, הנה מה טוב, שבת אחים גם יחד, הנה מה טוב, שבת אחים גם יחד, הנה מה טוב ומנעים, 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 שבת אחים גם יחד, הנה מה טוב, הנה מה טוב, יאללה לילה 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 לילה, הנה מה טוב, הנה מה טוב, יאללה לילה 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 לילה, הנה מה טוב ומנעים, שבת אחים גם יחד, הנה מה טוב ומנעים, שבת אחים גם יחד. So before we begin our Seder, we have a few announcements, a few things that we'd like to talk about. I'm going to send it over to Fredel.
Thank you, Cantor. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Women of Reform Judaism Temple Sisterhood Annual Julie R. Spitzer Memorial Women's Seder. Of course, the dog starts barking right as I start talking. I apologize. We are so pleased that you have joined us tonight. It may not be the ideal way to gather together, as this year is quite different from all other years, but perhaps we can relate all that much more closely now with our ancestors who were so eager for freedom. We remember tonight Rabbi Julie R. Spitzer and Helene Coleman, both extraordinary women from our congregation whose lives will be honored in just a minute by two other remarkable women from our congregation who knew them well. We are very fortunate that there are many other women within our congregation who have and are making real differences through their lives. By being here and participating in this Seder, you too are part of this movement. We celebrate and thank you for your contributions and hope that our Seder will inspire you to increase your efforts for justice and freedom for all. As of today, together we have raised $1,379 for Hubbard House, where our funds will be used to assist victims of domestic violence. We are lucky enough to have two representatives from Hubbard House with us tonight, and we'll hear a few words from one of them later this evening. If you would still like to donate to Hubbard House, you can go to hubbardhouse.org/neededmost and write Temple Sisterhood in the comment box, or get your checks to Joyce Elkin by next Wednesday, March 24th, please. The theme of our Seder tonight is Celebration of Women. Cantor Barry has compiled not only what I hope you will find to be a meaningful Seder, but also a beautiful visual Haggadah that we will all get to see when she screen shares it with us in a few minutes. Our Seder honors our Jewish heritage by retelling the story of Exodus from slavery in Egypt to freedom. Yet we know that our freedom is not yet complete. Many are enslaved by not only fear of sickness, but prejudice, hatred, abuse, and deprivation. As Jews, we know that we must be vigilant in the face of attacks against us. The Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. said, "No one is free until we are all free." Through our Seder, we will consider what we can do to help bring about freedom for all. We are very pleased that Cantor Barry will be leading our Seder tonight. But first, we'll have a few words from Felice Caliestro about Rabbi Julie R. Spitzer, followed by Ann Stone to honor Helene Coleman. Felice?
Thank you. Good evening. Happy Passover, everybody. This is so beautiful. It's my honor and privilege to introduce you to Rabbi Julie Ringgold Spitzer, how I came to know her, her connection to Temple and Sisterhood. In addition to my comments tonight, Sisterhood has an incredible fact sheet documenting how brilliant and incredible she was. And so just ask one of the people from Sisterhood and they will gladly send it to you. Thank you so much, Fredel, for the information. And a big thank you to Rabbi Goodman because he helped me remember some of the dates I'm about to share with you. It was the mid-1980s. I attended Friday night service regularly. I loved it then, love it now, love seeing you there. Seated quietly each week near me were George and Ann Ringgold, probably in their late 70s at that time. Tiny in stature, but huge in the love they gave generously to everybody. Why does this apply to the topic? Turns out they were Rabbi Spitzer's grandparents. One day, David Sellen, with whom I taught Sunday school at TIR, invited me to meet Iris and Bob Spitzer on the occasion of Iris's birthday at her 50th birthday party. There I encountered George Ringgold. Ann sadly had since passed away. George was over the top joyful, glowing, beaming, chest bursting, so proud as he told me about his granddaughter and Julie Spitzer, whose ordination as rabbi he had just recently attended. He was over the top joyful. Well, Iris and Bob loved to entertain, and now that I'm a friend of theirs, I was invited to their seders, to their birthdays, their friendship gatherings, etc., at their home on Kings Colony Road, which is really close to Temple. So at one of those gatherings, I met Rabbi Julie Ringgold Spitzer, who was fun, kind, caring, and a loving, devoted daughter to Iris and Bob. She was just lovingly Julie to me. I knew that she was brilliant and accomplished, but little did I know that she had written a historic rabbinic thesis on domestic violence in Jewish homes, and also her book, quote, When Love Is Not Enough, about spousal abuse in rabbinic and contemporary Judaism, is a definitive work on that issue. How fitting, don't you agree, that the annual proceeds from this Women's Seder go to Hubbard House in Jacksonville, a shelter for women and children, and we'll hear more about that very soon. What led Julie to that, what had led her to it, was her experience in college in Gainesville as a volunteer, where she did volunteer work for battered women. And that's what started her whole mission of combating that. Most of Julie's career was in Washington, D.C., and then the New York, New Jersey area. She won incredible, amazing awards, which again, the Sisterhood info will give it to you. Amazing. Please read it. Her accomplishments were spectacular. She was also renowned for writing and delivering amazingly powerful, beautiful sermons. She was so empathetic, caring about people, and she was a great counselor too. Her colleagues and friends were certain, and I imagine they still are, that had she lived, she would have been the first female president of the UJA. Approximately the end of 1997, Julie was diagnosed with ovarian cancer, and she died September 29th, 1999. She was just 41. I was so honored to be a pallbearer. After her, miss her still. After her funeral in Jacksonville, a memorial was held for her at Stephen Wise Temple in New York, and that was attended by several hundred people. The family received literally hundreds and hundreds of letters from people telling of the beautiful, positive influence that she had had on their lives. So here's a little bit more of the very sad ending of this story. Rich, but sad. Rich in all that she gave us and said. Just a few years later, Julie's only sibling, her sister Susie, who lived in South Florida with Susie's husband Jerry and baby daughter Andy, Susie was also diagnosed and died of ovarian cancer. Bob and Iris's only two children. Bob at that time was ill and very frail. He died in 2010. Kudos to Rochelle Miller and Celeste Danos, who were over the top, wonderfully attentive and kind to Bob and Iris, and then just to Iris as she was alone. And to Rabbi Goodman, whose attentiveness to Iris and goodness was absolutely amazing. She was so devastated. She was about incapacitated physically and emotionally, and was in River Garden for an extended period of time and died in September of 2016. I think I said Bob had died in 2010. I hope I said that. And that's a sad ending to the story. May they all rest in peace. And I hope this has helped touch your heart just a little bit. And now our beautiful Sisterhood co-president, Ann Stone.
Good evening, everyone. My presentation is not quite as long as Felice's. Helene S. Coleman, April 22nd, 1925 to January 30th, 1921. No, 21, that's when she died. Did you ever hear someone read a prayer and think to yourself, this person is someone very special? My first introduction to Helene Coleman was my first high holiday service at our temple. Helene was given the honor of reading a portion of the service. As she went up to the pulpit, I could see what a beautiful woman she was. She was nicely dressed, and she had a beautiful, melodious Southern reading voice. Even though I found out she was born in New York, to me, she was a real Southern belle. Believe me, I was not a BFF of hers. I did not know her family except for her husband, Jack, who was always by her side. I would see Helene at services a few times per year, but what I really looked forward to was hearing her read on the high holidays. I also passed their apartment at the Coves each week when I went to play Mahjong, as my friends who hosted the game lived in the same wing of the Coves as Helene and Jack. The hallway was an art gallery filled with Helene's paintings, one nicer and more beautiful than the next. Helene was a well-known figure in the Jacksonville Jewish community for many years. She had a resume a mile long. The highlights and awards of her life are too numerous to mention tonight. I will write more about this in our next Sisterhood newsletter. But what pertains to this evening is Helene's involvement in the GAL, Guardian Ad Litem program, that she started here in Jacksonville. This valuable program provides a court-appointed special advocate who speaks on behalf and in the best interest of an abused, abandoned, or neglected child in the dependency court system. I am proud to have known Helene S. Coleman as a member of our temple and our sisterhood. Both Helene and Rabbi Julie Spitzer were members of this temple, both women of valor and matriarchs of our Jewish heritage. Thank you, and we're ready to start the Seder.
Thank you so much, Anne. So I'm just gonna, so I'm going to read to you one more welcome. This welcome is from Rabbi Maya Glasser, who is our new rabbi who's going to be joining us on July 1st. And she wasn't able to be with us this evening, so she sent along a message for me to read, and I'm going to take care of that first, and then we can pass it off to our next readers. And I'll be calling our readers as we get to each one. Dear Temple Sisterhood, greetings to you as you celebrate together as a community. I'm looking forward to being able to share such holidays and rituals with all of you in the very near future. I love Passover because it is a time of rebirth and renewal. With springtime and our famous story of redemption comes a promise that life continues and that each of us carries the potential for growth within us. Our ancestors were redeemed by a miracle, and in this day and age, they inspire us to notice all of the miracles around us and create our own. How beautiful it is that even a year into an unprecedented pandemic, you are still gathering to live out our ancient Passover ritual. The slaves in Egypt certainly did not know about Zoom, but their story reminds us that all of us have our own tools to make miracles in our own day and age. I hope that you have wonderful and meaningful Seders this evening and next weekend. As you go through the Haggadah and reenact our people's story of the journey from slavery to freedom, I hope that the familiar prayers and rituals provide you with a sense of community and peace. Even in this chaotic and unpredictable world, may each of you have the strength to continue finding and making miracles. In peace and with hope, Rabbi Maya Glasser. And now I hand it over to Gail and Anita Jarrett. Before you begin reading, my friends, I'm going to share my document and we're going to all enter the world of the Women's Haggadah this evening.
Thank you, Cantor. Why is this night different from all other Seder nights? At all other Seders, we hear the stories of our forefathers, but the voices of our mothers are silent.
Tonight they will be heard.
At all other Seders, the heroic deeds of our sisters Miriam, Yocheved, sister and mother of Moses, and Shiphrah and Puah, the Hebrew midwives who saved children from Pharaoh's cruelty, are not mentioned.
Tonight we will celebrate their courage.
At all other Seders, we denounce the Pharaoh of the past.
Tonight we will confront the pharaohs of our own day.
At all other Seders, we rejoice in our liberation as a people.
Tonight we will celebrate the liberation of our own minds and hearts.
And so we again ask, why is this night different from all other nights?
On this night, we gather together to prepare for Passover outside of our kitchens in a way our foremothers could have never imagined. On this night, we join as a community to rid ourselves of a different kind of chametz.
What do we cleanse ourselves of tonight?
The exhaustion of cleaning and cooking, the echo of exclusionary language, the weight of history, the fear of women's voices, the silencing of women's stories, the violence done to women's bodies, the pressure to conform to one image of who Jewish women are supposed to be, the lingering belief that this tradition doesn't belong to women.
Let us gather all this together like crumbs. Like chametz, we are ready to burn. Let us enter into this Seder as if there were no more chametz anywhere, as if God had forever delighted in the image of herself in each and every one of us, as if freedom had been all of ours, always, fully, like an open sea.
Thank you. We're going to light our festival candles now. O source of light and truth, creator of the eternal law of goodness, help us to find knowledge by which to live. Lead us to take the words we shall speak into our hearts and our lives. Bless all who bring the offerings of their hearts. May our worship lead us to acts of kindness, peace, and love. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lahadlik ner shel yom tov. Blessed are you, Adonai, our God, sovereign of the universe, who hallows us with mitzvot, commanding us to kindle the holiday lights. And now we join together in the Shehecheyanu. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, shehecheyanu v'kimanu v'higyanu l'zman hazeh. Blessed are you, Adonai, our God, sovereign of the universe, who keeps us in life, who sustains us, and who enables us to reach this season. And now we send it over to Joanne Lawson.
It is our tradition to drink 4 cups of wine at the Seder. The number 4 is repeated throughout the Seder. There are 4 questions, 4 children, and our 4 matriarchs. The 4 cups of wine represent God's 4 promises made to the Israelites as we departed Egypt. I will take you out of Egypt. I will deliver you from slavery. I will redeem you with an outstretched arm. I will make you my people.
Marcia.
I can't, the soul cries. I am so afraid. Of course you are. The infinite responds, you have been in the
I'm so sorry, Marcia.
You want to go back?
No, I think that, I don't know how, but I think that they went backwards. So here's the first one for you.
It is time. The infinite calls, come. Behotseti, I will take you out. Vehitsalti, I will deliver you to a new place. Vigaalti, I will help you to transform. Vilakachti, I will take you into relationship, and you will know your beloved place amid the myriad of all life. I can't, the soul cries. I am so afraid. Of course you are, the infinite responds. You have been in the narrow place for so very long. But I will lift you up. So just for a moment, you will see the expanse of possibilities. Then you will decide what is more frightening, to stay where you are or to step out towards what might be.
Thank you so much, Marcia. I'm sorry for that confusion. Now, this is going to be, I know that traditionally, as we just said, that there are 4 cups of wine. But for this Seder, it's not a traditional Seder. It is anything but a traditional Seder. So you are going to find that there are some differences between what you're used to in a Seder and the Seder this evening. And one of that is we have condensed our 4 glasses of wine into 1 glass of wine, with all of the readings explaining what Marcia read for us, those words, v'hotzeti, v'hatzalti, v'ga'alti, v'lakachti, those are the 4 phrases associated with each one of the 4 cups of wine. We just read all of them, and Marcia read them and explained them for us so beautifully. So we're going to pour our glass of wine. And Marcia, would you like to lead us in the Kiddush, please?
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen. Blessed are you, Adonai, our God, ruler of the world, creator of the fruit of the vine. Amen.
Amen, L'chaim, thank you. We move on to our next section. The next segment of our Seder is going to be all about Miriam. And before we read, I'm going to show our Miriam's cups here. We have on this Seder table this evening has 2 Miriam's cups. One is Sisterhood's Miriam cup that is used for the Seder each year, for the Women's Seder. It's absolutely beautiful, with a statue of Miriam holding the glass of water. So she's on our table. And we also have a Miriam's cup that was given to Ian and I as a wedding gift. A beautiful portrayal of Miriam, and it's like the goblet itself is a tambourine. And I wanted to share with you one more thing. This is my Miriam tambourine, and I have it with me tonight. It's very special. This tambourine was bequeathed to me by one of my congregants that I had in Wellington, down in South Florida. She had been very involved in WRJ. She had served on the national board of WRJ, and really was involved in making our sisterhood down in Wellington as extraordinary as it was. And she died 10 years ago from cancer. And she left me this gift and had her daughter deliver it after she left us. So I treasure it, and I take it out each year for our Women's Seder. So we have many Miriams joining us this evening, and now I send it over to Felice and Vicky.
Miriam's cup is filled with water rather than wine. Ancient Jewish legend teaches us that a miraculous well accompanied the Hebrews throughout their journey in the desert, providing them with water. This well was given by God to Miriam, the prophetess, sister, and protector of Moses, to honor her bravery and devotion to her family and people. The well miraculously followed the Israelites throughout their desert wanderings. Both Miriam and her well were spiritual oases in the desert, sources of sustenance and healing. Her words of comfort gave the Hebrews the faith and confidence to overcome the hardships of the Exodus.
We will fill Miriam's cup with water to honor her role in ensuring the survival of the Jewish people. Like Miriam, Jewish women in all generations have been essential for the continuity of our people as keepers of tradition in the house, women passed down songs and stories, rituals and recipes from mothers to child, from generation to generation. We fill the cup of Miriam with water so that our daughters may continue to draw from the strength and wisdom of our heritage.
We place Miriam's cup on our Seder table to honor the important role of Jewish women in our tradition and history, whose stories have been too sparingly told.
We abound in blessings, God, creator of the universe, who sustains us with living water. May we, like the children of Israel leaving Egypt, be guarded and nurtured and kept alive in the wilderness. And may you give us wisdom to understand that the journey itself holds the promise of redemption.
Zot kos Miriam, kos mayim chayim, zecher letziat Misraim. This is the cup of Miriam, the cup of living waters. Let us remember the going out from Egypt.
These are the living waters, God's gift to Miriam, which gave new life to our people as we struggle with ourselves in the wilderness. Blessed are you, God, who brings us from the narrows into the wilderness. Sustain us with endless possibilities and enables us to reach a new place.
And we recite this beautiful blessing, Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, shehakol nihiyeh bidvaro. Blessed are you, our eternal God, majestic spirit of the universe, by whose word everything is created. Gail.
Okay. You might have to help me out here because I can't see the whole words. So I'm going to do the best I can.
Okay.
I don't know why, but Miriam's well was said to hold divine
power to
heal, sustain, and renew. It became a
special
source of transformation for a people
leaving
slavery to form a new identity.
This is the best game of Mad Libs I've ever played, Gail.
Just as the
Holy One
delivered Miriam and her people, just as
they were
sustained in the desert and transformed
into a new
people, so may we be delivered, sustained,
and
transformed on our own journey to a
stronger
sense of ourselves as individuals and as a community. May the healing waters of
Miriam's
well sustain all of us and those we love.
Thank you so much, Gail. We're going to now join together in our song of healing, Misha Berach, in honor of Miriam, whose water kept everyone sustained and healed throughout the wanderings in the desert. Misha Berach avoteinu mikor habracha limotenu. May the source of strength bless the ones before us. Help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Amen. Misha Berach imoteinu mikor habracha lavoteinu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body
the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen.
Before we move on, just a couple of things. One is, Gail, are you maybe on an iPad?
No, I'm not. But for some reason, all the people are on the right-hand side. It blocks the wording. So
Oh, goodness gracious. Okay,
I don't know how
gotcha.
to get rid of it, but I think together we did a beautiful job.
We did. It was masterful. Thank you. So as we head into our next section of the service, I just want to let you know, those, especially those who are reading, and our next readers are Diane Clark and Rhoda London. This is a very large file. This Haggadah, it turns out the program I was using caps at 100 pages. You know how I know? It is 100 pages. And it's trying to buffer, and it is during this next section of the Seder that it seems to want to do its buffering. So we were probably going to hop on and find some blank pages, and we're going to wait just a moment as they load. So those who are reading, Toby, stop digging. Those who are reading, if you could pause until the screen itself has come on, that would be fantastic. Thank you so much. So I'm sending it over to Diane.
Long before the struggle upward begins, there's tremor in the seed. Self-protection cracks. Roots reach down and grab hold. The seed swells and tender shoots push up toward light. This is Karpa, spring awakening growth, a force so tough it can break stone.
And why do we dip karpas into salt water? To remember the sweat and tears of our ancestors in bondage, to taste the bitter tears of our earth, unable to fully renew itself this spring because of our waste, neglect, and greed, to feel the sting of society's refusal to celebrate the blossoming of women's bodies and the full range of our capacity for love. And why should salt water be touched by karpas? To remind us that tears stop. Spring comes, and with it, the potential for change. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei pri ha'adamah. You are blessed, O God, Spirit of the world, who creates the fruit of the earth.
So of course, if you have your karpas, your parsley, and your salt water, now is the time to go ahead and dip that in. We'll take one moment. I want you to, I'm just going to show you, I do have an entire, there's a lot going on here with this, with the Seder plate and the candles and the cups. And my goodness, I wish you could see everything. Even the tablecloth is Pesach. So we move on now. We head into the Magid, the telling of our Passover story. Lost my, keep it here. Avadim hayinu hayinu. Ata b'nei chorim, b'nei chorim. Avadim hayinu. Ata b'nei chorim. Avadim hayinu. Ata b'nei chorim, b'nei chorim. Avadim hayinu hayinu. Ata b'nei chorim, b'nei chorim. Avadim hayinu. Ata b'nei chorim. Avadim hayinu. Ata b'nei chorim, b'nei chorim. We head now into the telling of our story, a telling unlike anyone we usually hear this one from the perspective of the women of the Haggadah. Our first reader is Karen Backelman.
I'm a mother. Tell me a story. Yocheved looks down over her bulging belly at the little daughter tugging at her arm. This is her Miriam, full of whys and whens and how comes. A story. Yocheved sitting at her loom has only one story to tell, when she fears her daughter is too young to hear. But Miriam will not be hushed, and so Yocheved, weary from the mud and the cloth of the stove, begins. Once there was a people enslaved by an evil king. They worked day and night, but he was never satisfied. This king, Miriam, wanted more, wanted everything of the people could give, and he took everything from them, down to their lives, down to their sons.
Bobby Adler.
Miriam, bored of the story she has heard so many times, puts her hands on her mother's belly. Ima, will I have a brother? Yes. And Ima, will the bad king take my brother? No, this time the bad king cannot have everything he wishes. The voices of slavery will call out and be answered. Through the strength of the few, all will be saved. Do you understand, my daughter? Only through courage will the bad king be overcome. Ah, Miriam, I am a slave, but my children, they will be free. You have the power to make them free.
Thank you, Bobby. Ruthie Nachman.
Tell me a story, whispered Shifra to Puah as they wait, tense in the darkness. Another baby will soon be born, but this night the angel of death will be forced away. Puah, I am afraid. And Shifra reaches for her hand. Do not be afraid, my sister, my friend. Puah's voice does not shake. We are givers of life, and the power of life is strong, stronger than Pharaoh and his gods, stronger than law. Remember the force of life within us all, in this birth tent, in this woman's camp, and you will not be afraid. And what story can you tell me, whispers Pharaoh's daughter to the baby in the basket, his cries already slowing. She holds him to her breast. What else can you be to me but a gift, a little treasure, a child for the woman who is barren, and when I am old, you will tell my stories for me. Pharaoh's daughter knows the origin of this gift, so often prayed for, but holds her silence. She walks calmly into her father's house. Father, I have brought you our future, my son, she says.
Rita Saraga.
I'm asking her to unmute. Frida?
Frida, are you able to find the unmute button?
So much confusion. Okay, I'll start again.
Yeah.
I have sent my husband, Moses, back to you. Zipporah tells the darkening sky outside her tent. I found him a mist in the desert, but I know he belongs to you and to his people. He will have a hard time of it. I know he hates crowds and says he doesn't speak well. I have a child on the way, and he said he wouldn't leave me. But I saw your voice in his eyes, and so I've sent him. May he go with visions for the future and return with the faces of his past. What stories then will we have for our child? The women have dropped their tambourines in exhaustion. The sun is beginning to set. Miriam, Miriam, sing to us, they cry. Miriam tells us a story, and Miriam, the child of slavery, hears the voice of her mother, and Miriam, the prophetess of freedom, begins to tell her story.
And the women dancing with their timbrels followed Miriam as she sang her song. Sing a song to the one whom we've exalted. Miriam and the women danced. danced and danced the whole night long. And Miriam was a weaver of unique variety. The tapestry she wove was one which sang our history. With every strand and every thread she crafted her delight. A woman touched with spirit, she dances toward the light. And the women dancing with their timbrels followed Miriam as she sang her song. Sing a song to the one who we've exalted. Miriam and the women danced and danced the whole night long. When Miriam stood upon the shores and gazed across the sea, the wonder of this miracle she soon came to believe. Whoever thought the sea would part with an outstretched hand, and we would pass to freedom and march to the promised land. And the women dancing with their timbrels followed Miriam as she sang her song. Sing a song to the one we've exalted. Miriam and the women danced and danced the whole night long. And Miriam the prophet took her timbrel in her hand, and all the women followed her just as she had planned. And Miriam raised her voice in song, she sang with praise and might. We've just lived through a miracle, we're going to dance tonight. And the women dancing with their timbrels followed Miriam as she sang her song. Sing a song to the one we've exalted. Miriam and the women danced and danced the whole night long. Leslie Wolfson.
Sorry, Haggadah was compiled with the idea that those using it would be intimately familiar with traditional Jewish rituals and practices so that anything out of the ordinary would attract attention and provoke questions. In particular, the rabbis wanted to perform actions that would encourage children to ask for explanations, at which point the adults could tell the story of the Exodus. At the Seder, we have no children, nor are we necessarily traditional Jews. So although we sing the traditional questions, they don't really fit us. And that means that they fail at their purpose. A story has to be told to fit its audience. So the questions we ask should be the ones that are meaningful to us. Here are a few. Get started.
Kathy Winterfield.
What can we do as women to acknowledge each other in the continuous struggle to meet our own expectations and those imposed upon us? How can we as women develop and maintain a sense of spirituality within this context of change? How can we deal the fragmentation in ourselves as well as our community? How do we integrate our diversity and become whole? Why do we seek to develop new rituals? How do we celebrate these new rituals without betraying our cherished traditions, our past, or our future?
Thank you, Kathy. So if we were sitting together in the block auditorium and we were sitting around tables, we would take a few minutes now to have some conversations, to discuss these questions, because that is what the Seder is all about. Asking questions so that we can really dig down deep, discuss our story, and continue to teach the generations that come. So when we gather with women, we focus on the stories of women, on the issues of women, on the issues of women of the past and the issues of women of today. So we're not going to be able to, I'm not splitting you up into breakout rooms and sending you anywhere, but we can think about these things, especially as we head into our regular Passover Seders. And these are questions that we can pose too. And it also may inspire us to ask different questions at our own Passover Seders, not just the ones that are the given, the sample questions, if you will, that are provided for us in the Haggadah. It's actually funny. So many years, I mean, I've been a cantor now for a while, and every year the religious school parents want to know, when are you teaching my children the 4 questions? Have you taught them the 4 questions? And I never give the answer that they want to hear, because I do tell them 2 important things. One is, it's not my job to teach them the 4 questions, it's yours. But it is on the CD that I made for you and sent home with you. So if you play it, they're there. They're tracks 96 through 100. But number 2, they're sample questions. They're there to inspire us, to spark our imagination so that we engage in deeper conversation on Passover. Because we're not just gathering around the table and reading from a book. We're supposed to be there to engage, to struggle, to wrestle with the questions, because we are, of course, Yisrael, the people Yisrael, those who wrestle with God. So we're going to take us now to our traditional 4 questions.
מה נשתנה הלילה הזה מכל הלילות, מכל הלילות, שבכל הלילות אנו אוכלים חמץ ומצה, חמץ ומצה. הלילה הזה כולו מצה. הלילה הזה כולו מצה. שבכל הלילות אנו אוכלים שאור ירקות, שאור ירקות. הלילה הזה מרור מרור. הלילה הזה מרור מרור. שבכל הלילות איננו מפילים אפילו פעם אחת, אפילו פעם אחת. הלילה הזה שתפי עמים. הלילה הזה שתפי עמים. שבכל הלילות אנו אוכלים בין יושבים ובין מסובים, בין יושבים ובין מסובים. הלילה הזה כולנו מסובים. הלילה הזה כולנו מסובים. This night, we take the time to slow down, to relax, and to weave our tales. We have earned this respite in time. On all other nights, we are mothers, wives, partners, scholars, teachers, chauffeurs, cooks, maids, working women, and leaders. Tonight, we stop. Tonight, we take time for ourselves to relax and to enjoy one another as sisters. Oh, very good. Okay, we're going to take a moment to discuss the tradition of an orange on the Seder plate. This is the story of the orange of the Seder plate according to Susanna Heschel, who is the daughter of Rabbi Abraham Joshua Heschel, great rabbi and philosopher of the 20th century. Susanna Heschel is a professor who has taught at numerous colleges and universities, and she's the one who started the orange on the Seder plate, and this is her story.
Early in the 1980s, the Hillel Foundation invited me to speak on a panel at Oberlin College. While on campus, I came across a Haggadah that had been written by some Oberlin students to express feminist concerns. One ritual they devised was placing a crust of bread on the Seder plate as a sign of solidarity with Jewish lesbians, because it had been said by someone, there's as much room for a lesbian in Judaism as there is for a crust of bread on the Seder plate. At the next Passover, I placed an orange on our family's Seder plate. During the first part of the Seder, I asked everyone to take a segment of the orange, make the blessing over fruit, and eat it as a gesture of solidarity with Jewish lesbians and gay men and others who are marginalized within the Jewish community. I mentioned widows in particular. Bread on the Seder plate brings an end to Pesach. It renders everything chametz. And its symbolism suggests that being lesbian is being transgressive, violating Judaism. I felt that an orange was suggestive of something else, the fruitfulness for all Jews when lesbians and gay men are contributing and active members of Jewish life. In addition, each orange segment had a few seeds that had to be spit out, a gesture of spitting out, repudiating the homophobia that poisons too many Jews. When lecturing, I often mentioned my custom as one of many new feminist rituals that had been developed in the last 20 years. Somehow, though, the typical patriarchal maneuver occurred. My idea of an orange and my intention of affirming lesbians and gay men were transformed. Now the story circulates that a man stood up after a lecture I delivered and said to me in anger that a woman belongs on the bima as much as an orange on the Seder plate. We turn now. Oh, again, my idea, a woman's words. This is her final concluding topic. My idea, a woman's words are attributed to a man, and the affirmation of lesbians and gay men is simply erased. Isn't that precisely what's happened over the centuries to women's ideas? And now we learn about the 4 daughters, and our first reader is Carolyn Cantor.
Around our table sit 4 daughters. The wise daughter understands that not everything is as it appears. She is the one who steps forward, assuming her opinion counts. She is the one who takes the tradition and ritual that is placed before her, turns it over and over, and finds personal meaning in it. She is the one who finds the secrets in the empty spaces between the letters of the Torah. She is the one who claims a place, even if the men forget her. Some call her wise and accepting. We call her creative and assertive. We welcome all assertiveness to sit with us at our tables and inspire us to act. The wicked daughter is the one who dares to challenge the simplistic answers that she has been given. She is the one who asks too many questions. She is the one not content to remain in her prescribed place. She is the one who breaks the mold. She is the one who frightens the status quo. Some call her wicked and rebellious. We call her daring and revolutionary. We welcome all rebellion to sit with us at our tables and make us uneasy.
Thank you, Carolyn. Now, Mara Atzenhofer, our youth coordinator.
The simple daughter is the one who accepts what she is given without asking for more. She is the one who trusts easily and believes what she is told. She is the one who prefers waiting and watching over seeking and acting. She is the one who believes that the redemption from Egypt was the final act of freedom. She is the one who follows in the wake of others. Some call her simple and naive. We call her the one whose eyes wait to be opened. We welcome the
Contented one.
thank you, contented one to sit with us at our table and appreciate what may yet to be. What may yet be. Last is the daughter who does not know how to ask. She is the one who obeys and does not question. She is the one who has accepted men's definitions of the world. She is the one who has not found her own voice. She is the one who is invisible. Some call her subservient or oppressed. We call her sister. We welcome the silent one to sit with us at our table and begin by experiencing the community of women. That's yeah.
Around our table.
Just kidding.
It's okay.
It's not. It's okay. Around our table sit 4 daughters.
There's definitely 4 daughters. Thank you.
There's 3 there.
Well, yes, yes, on that slide there are, it's true.
Oh, but look at all the daughters.
Now we have so many women. We know of the plagues.
Where did that go?
Duh.
Oh, it's part of it.
We know.
We're really good at this.
There's
guys.
so much going on right now. Just as an aside, we're working the computer, the sheet music, the script with everyone's names who's been assigned. And every time someone comes into the Zoom room, I have to reset my computer screen because it won't allow me to get back to my document. So
we're having a party.
I have a lot of balls in the air that I'm juggling. And I really thank you for all of your patience for the glitches. Here we have the 10 plagues of Jewish women. We know of the plagues God sent to the Egyptians, horrors that were part of our liberation. Today, we see ourselves as God's partners, not in the punishment of other people, but as agents for redeeming the world. We therefore look around with open eyes at the plagues that enslave us. They need to be identified and confronted. We name these plagues of today. So we're going to partake in the tradition. Would you grab me the wine glass?
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Do you want to post it now? Because we don't have a napkin.
I'm going to go right onto the Seder plate.
Great.
So with each plague, the tradition is to dip your finger in the wine and drop the wine as if it were a drop of blood. Don't lick your finger because you're not supposed to taste the sweetness of the wine while we discuss the plagues, and you will see that these truly are plagues of Jewish women and women everywhere. Blood, dam, the dying hopes and dreams of women struggling with infertility and miscarriage. Frogs, tzfardea, the uncontrollable leaping rate of violence against women, rape, domestic violence, and more. Lice, kinim, the negative stereotypes which cause Jewish women to feel shameful or dirty or degraded. Beasts, arov, the hunger and poverty that eats away like a beast at the most vulnerable women, especially single mothers, the elderly, and children. Cattle disease, dever, the distorted body images that hurt us physically or psychologically, with effects ranging from low self-esteem to the scourge of eating disorders. Boils, shrin, the conscious or unconscious sexism that rises to the surface even in Jewish liturgy and communal life. Hail, barad, the continued attempts to limit our control of our reproductive rights, forcing women to have illegal abortions or carry out pregnancies that should have been ended. Locusts, arbeh, the men who feed their egos by oppressing their wives, twisting Jewish law and misusing it by refusing to grant divorces to these chained women known as agunot. Darkness, choshech, the blind eye that does not see women as equal and valuable, leading to sexual harassment, glass ceilings, lack of equal pay, disrespect for aging women, and more. Slaying of the firstborn, makat bechorot, the pervasive presence of diseases like breast cancer, which threaten to take more of our mothers, daughters, sisters, and friends. May this year bring each of us the opportunity to fight these plagues and others, that we may help bring redemption to God's world. And I can't help but think of Dolly Parton and the many people who contributed to making sure that we got those vaccinations that everybody's been getting in their arms over the last few months. This is a plague that we have been able to put our energy, our minds, our brains, our focus into for the entire world. And that's how we make a change. Dayenu. Gina Weston.
From singing Diana, we learn to celebrate each landmark on our people's journey. Yet we must never confuse these way stations with the redemptive destination, because there is still so much to do in our world, work of repairing the world. If we speak truthfully about the pain, joys, and contradictions in our lives, if we listen to others with sensitivity and compassion, if we challenge the absence of women in traditional texts, chronicles of Jewish history, and in the leadership of our institutions, Dayenu. If we continue to organize, march, and vote to affirm our values, if we fight economic injustice, sexism, racism, and homophobia, if we volunteer our time and money, Dayenu.
Lisa Crowder.
If we break the silence about violence against women and children in the Jewish community and everywhere, if we teach our students and children to pursue justice with all their strength, if we care for the earth and its future as responsibly as we care for those we love, if we create art, music, dance, and literature, Dayenu. If we realize our power to affect change, if we bring holiness into our lives, homes, and communities, if we honor our visions more than our fears, Dayenu below Dayenu, it will and it will not be enough.
Iru Hotzianu, Hotzianu, mi Mitzrayim, Hotzianu, mi Mitzrayim, Dayenu. Say this. Dayenu, 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 Dayenu. Ilu natan natan lanu et hashavat natan lanu et hashavat Dayenu, 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 Dayenu. Ilu natan natan lanu et haTorah natan lanu et haTorah Dayenu, 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 Dayenu.
Lori Simmons.
The whole door in every generation. It says in the Midrash, in Pesachim, that it is incumbent on each person gathered at the Seder to recite, B'chol dor v'dor chayav adam lirot et atzmo ki'ilu hu yatsa mi Mitzrayim. In all generations, it is the duty of man to consider himself as if he had become forth from Egypt. This sentence is a stumbling block for any woman who wishes to fully understand what it means to be free as a Jew. Jewish freedom means being able to respond as a mature, participating adult to any issues which arise in the Jewish community. How can a woman recite Atzmo, himself, and still feel she is an adult decision maker. If she does this, she has not yet gone out from slavery to freedom. She is still second class.
Stephanie Brown.
Freedom can only be gained by a woman when she herself becomes fully knowledgeable and fully capable of speaking and acting for herself. This means, whenever necessary, actively, not passively, extracting herself from Pharaoh's grip, in whatever guise or form that hold takes place. And if, in the process, she finds that she is in part Pharaoh to herself, she must renew the struggle yearly until such time when she can stand at a Seder and recite for herself.
Thank you so much. B'chol dor vador, chayevet isha lirot et atzma ke'ilu hi yitza miMitzrayim. In every generation, it is the duty of a woman to consider herself as if she herself had come forth from Egypt. Laura Osofsky. How are we doing with Laura's mute button?
I've asked her to unmute. Sorry, Froggy. Laura, can you unmute? I'm looking for her now to see if I can see her. Can you click the unmute? You've tried?
We can go ahead.
Yeah, she can't get herself unmuted.
Okay, I'm Laura, my love. I am reading on your behalf. And next year, you get an extra reading. A woman's Pesach, Matzah Maror. Our obligation to teach at the Passover table is not fulfilled until we interpret these symbols. The Pesach, Matzah, and Maror. Pesach, the Passover sacrifice. What does the Pesach teach? On their last night in Egypt, Israelite families shared the Passover meal, a roasted lamb, eaten in haste, family by family. And in each Israelite household were women who sustained family life, who continued to bear children despite Pharaoh's decree, who created spaces for holiness to enter, even as destruction raged outside. And Friedel.
Matzah, the unleavened bread. What does the matzah teach? The next morning, as God led us out of Egypt, our people fled with their kneading bowls wrapped in their cloaks around their shoulders. Exodus 12:34. In the wilderness, they baked the dough prepared in bondage into hard unleavened cakes, the bread of freedom. And in each Israelite household were women who met extraordinary circumstances with calm practicality, preparing food for the journey ahead. In this matzah, we see a daily chore transformed. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu al achilat matzah. Blessed are you, our God, who makes us holy with mitzvot and commands us to eat matzah.
Thank you, Friedel. And now over to Rona Siegel.
Maror, the bitter herb. What does the maror teach? Bitter vegetables remind us of the harsh taste of servitude. But why talk of slavery when we've just now glimpsed freedom? Our tradition teaches that only those who longed for freedom fully know the bitterness of slavery. Only those who refuse to be defeated by bitterness will realize freedom. And so we honor women who refuse to submit. Yocheved risked her son's life to save him, and the young slave, Miriam, spoke up to royalty to ensure her people's future. We recall countless nameless Jewish women throughout history who overcame the bitterness of persecution and prevailed, armed only with faith, courage, and love. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu al achilat maror. Blessed are you, our God, who makes us holy with mitzvot and commands us to eat bitter herbs. Pesach, matzah, and maror. What have our mothers taught? In times of terror, to create shelter. In upheaval and dislocation, the courage of daily resolve. And in defiance of bitterness, the root and leaf of hope.
Thank you so much. Now, I bring to you one of my most favorite Passover songs. It's called Baby Moses in a Basket, but that is deceptive. This is not a children's song. This is a song about all of the extraordinary women of the story of the Exodus of Egypt who made it possible for us. Baby Moses in a basket on the river. Baby Moses in a basket on the river Nile. Baby Moses in a basket on the river. Baby Moses in a basket on the river Nile. Yocheved gives birth to a strong baby boy and hides him as he starts to thrive. Soon she has a plan to put him in the river Nile, the only way he'll stay alive. Baby Moses in a basket on the river. Baby Moses in a basket on the river Nile. Baby Moses in a basket on the river. Baby Moses in a basket on the river Nile. Miriam, his sister, loved her baby brother dear. She helps her mother with his care. And when the boy is placed in a basket in the reeds, she hides herself till he's found there. Baby Moses in a basket on the river. Baby Moses in a basket on the river Nile. Baby Moses in a basket on the river. Baby Moses in a basket on the river Nile. Pharaoh's daughter finds the basket floating in the Nile. She knows it is a Hebrew boy. Miriam brings her mother in to care for the child. Now Yocheved holds her pride and joy. Baby Moses in a basket on the river. Baby Moses in a basket on the river Nile. Baby Moses in a basket on the river. Baby Moses in a basket on the river Nile. Moses grew up to lead his people to the promised land. God had chosen him to set them free. But without the love and courage of the women at the Nile, it would have changed the course of history. Baby Moses in a basket on the river. Baby Moses in a basket on the river Nile. Baby Moses in a basket on the river. Baby Moses in a basket on the river Nile. Lashana Haba'ah Nisheb al hamirpeset v'nispor ציפורים נודדות ילדים בחופשה ישחקו תופסת בין הבית לבין השדות ותראי כמה טוב יהיה בשנה הבאה ותראי
בשנה הבאה. Soon the day will arrive when we will be together and no longer will we live in fear. And the children will smile without wondering whether on that day nor new clouds will appear. Oh, tiri, kamatovie, bashana, bashana, habaa. Oh, tiri, kamatovie, bashana, bashana, habaa. We will see how good it will be. Bashana habaa next year. Happy Passover and Chag Sameach. I turn us now. I'm going to pass it back to Friedel. Or is it Kat? Is Kathy's doing the introduction?
Actually, it's Stephanie Brown from Hubbard House is going to say a few words to explain what our monies are going to. Stephanie?
Yes, thank you so much for having me here this evening. You know, the Temple Sisterhood, you've been such long-standing supporters of Hubbard House, and we are so honored year after year, not only to get to participate in this event, but to be a beneficiary of your generosity. And, you know, I really want to help you understand what that generosity means, because if you donated at the Leah level, $36, that is a week of meals for a child in shelter. It costs about $60 to provide one night of safety and shelter to an adult survivor. So if you donated quadruple chai, that is more than covering that night of safety and security. About half of our funding on any given year comes from the community, and the long-standing support like what we get from you allows us to continue to provide that incredibly great need. You know, when I was given my reading, and I don't know if it was an intentional assignment or not, but it talked about, you know, a woman finding her inner strength and, you know, being able to stand up. And I think it's just such an important message that resonates, especially with that cause. But just as we heard throughout this, it also comes with the support of those around you. You need the Miriams and everyone to help lift you up. And so through your kind words, through your longstanding support, and through your generosity, you are helping to lift those survivors as they find their way as well. In the last fiscal year, Hubbard House helped nearly 3,700 adults and children, including 630 directly in shelter. So again, $60 is one night of shelter for one person. And at any given time, we have about 90 to 100 people in our shelter. So we are so grateful for the longstanding support you've provided, because it allows us to continue our life-saving and life-changing work. You know, with COVID-19, everything is so different nowadays, but we are so proud to say that we have not stopped for even 1 minute. We will continue to serve survivors with anything and everything that they need, and that's at no cost to them for any service they require. We are always going to be here for survivors because organizations like you are always here for us. And so that, again,
Thank you so much, Stephanie. And I was watching, I was so excited when I saw you reading and was reading along with you, and how perfectly it was. And I will tell you that Friedel picked all of the readers, and she's a very wise woman. So I have a feeling that that one was assigned purpose.
I believe it. I enjoyed it.
Thank you so much. We were so happy to have you here with us.
Thank you.
Thank you, Stephanie. And now we're going to hear a word from our Sisterhood co-presidents.
All right, I'll go first. I just want to thank Canterbury, Mara, Friedel, thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. You stepped in and you did a fantastic job. Marcia Weinstock, Carolyn Cantor, Cheryl Kovitz, Mary Ellen Hathaway. I don't know what we would do without you. Thank you from the bottom of our hearts. And if anybody can do more for Hubbard House, please let us reach into our pockets. And thank you all for coming tonight and for enjoying this beautiful, beautiful service. Thank you. Kathy?
I'm just going to absolutely ditto everything Ann said, and times 18. Thank you, Ann, for those beautiful words, and thank you, Friedel, and thank you, everyone, for being part of this fabulous, wonderful group of women. And of course, Cantor, without you and Mary Ellen, I'm not so sure about our success, but our intentions are wonderful to be with you, and thank you for being with us. And Mary Ellen, we so appreciate your expertise. Thank you, everyone, and have a great evening. It has been wonderful to be with you.
Thank you, everybody.
You can all unmute. I've asked everybody to unmute if they'd like.
That was wonderful.
It was beautiful. Everything was beautiful.
That was
Thank
beautiful.
you.
Beautiful service.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Bye,
everybody. That was beautiful.
Thank you. Good night, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye, Mom.
Thank you. So good to
Well,
see
everybody.
you.
Thank
Take
you,
care,
everyone.
everyone.
Wonderful.
Tomorrow, Jane.
Bye.
Kelly, it's time to go to bed.
What happened to the apple?
Nope.
Hi, Ashley.